Hello and welcome to Honest Faith Conversations. As always, I am your co-host, Miguel Covarrubias.
And I'm Kathy Covarrubias. And today, let's talk about The Defenders Season 1.
We just wanted to take a moment and say thank you for listening. And if you have been affected by the hurricanes in any context, we hope that you and your loved ones are safe, that you are finding a warm and safe place to sleep, and that everything is okay with all of you. So.
Yep, we hope for the best.
Yep. So, Defenders, spoiler alert if you have not yet binge watched it, because that's what we do with Netflix seasons, is binge watch them.
And this one's pretty short. It's like, 8 hours long or something total?
Yeah, it's only 8 episodes, so... Which, we'll get into my review here in just a minute. But, only 8 episodes, but spoiler alert for everything going forward.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, so review and summary. Do you want to start with the summary?
No. I pass it off to you. Thank you, though, kind sir.
Okay. Netflix gets all of the street-level heroes that they have had in their series and puts them together for a series for the Defenders. And they fight the Hand. There's my summary. How about yours?
That's a good one. That's pretty much it. Fighting ensues. They get all of the side characters together into one room, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we kind of have weird connections with each other. That's kind of cool." And yeah, it wasn't all that fantastic. I'll just skip right to the review.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, it was entertaining. It was definitely better than Iron Fist Season 1.
Yes.
However, I do agree with one person who put it that it felt more like Iron Fist Season 2.
Yeah. There was way too much Iron Fist in this, and there was not enough hand puns. I mean, seriously, if you're fighting an enemy named the Hand, you need to give them hand puns.
Yep.
And I know that they were doing the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe thing with Phase 2, with the whole chopping off of hands thing. Come on. You've got to throw a hand pun in there.
Yeah, it looks like you need a hand.
Yeah, give us a hand.
Or one finger off of the hand is down. Anything that would have satisfied me at this point in time.
Yeah, it was way too much of Danny Rand whining about his chi. My chi.
Yep. Very much. Yeah, just still a lot of whining. I mean, he's definitely not as whiny as, his standalone series. However.
Yes. But still, he does some things that you're like, why? Why are you doing that? The bodies are still fresh and warm.
Yes! Why are you staring at a poster?
Why are you staring at a poster? Go after them. That's why you're there, right?
Yes, I know. And the fact that moments before they were like, "Oh, they were just here. The bodies are still warm."
So let's stare at this poster of Kunlun for 10 minutes.
I mean, if they were just there, why? Anyway, it was maddening.
Not big fans of Iron Fist, as you have heard in our podcast on Iron Fist Season 1.
What?
Well, the writing was bad for Iron Fist Season 1, but I feel like they let way too... Iron Fist have way too much of this screen time.
I think that they were trying... I think maybe they were hoping that we would end up liking Danny Rand by the end of the season.
Maybe, which you did a little bit, and a lot of people got their jabs in on Danny that, he's not the brightest bulb in the bunch, but, it was still kind of, all right, we've got our jabs in at Danny, you can stop now, let's move on with some sort of plot.
Yeah.
So, which made this episode very difficult for us to write, because they didn't really have a very unifying theme throughout, except for some of the things that we were talking about, which are going to be, for me, I feel is the theme for the entire season, and for Kathy, it's kind of off that a little bit, but
it's more like what they did wrong.
Yeah, And I think that the theme for this was definitely that we're all in this together. That you can't do this on your own. That it's life is meant to be lived with others, which is more. It was more kind of a theme that could have been explored through Daredevil, because Daredevil is kind of that loner kind of person.
Guy, yeah.
And I mean, even Frank Castle kind of did that in season 2 of Daredevil, was kind of being that lone wolf kind of thing, and Matt was having those conversations with him. And,
Yep.
I mean, Luke kind of figured that out a little bit throughout his season 1.
Yeah.
And Jessica Jones, she's also a lone wolf, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. But she is. She's discovering that she needed help too, which is, her neighbor, and with the lawyer. Why can't I remember her name? Doesn't matter. And and Danny found out that he needed Colleen. So.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing. Like, he's always had Colleen. But anyway, I will talk about that when it's my turn to talk about it.
But I think this is essential for. I mean, granted, this is the season of Defenders. They're trying to get them together. They're trying to get them to actually, play nice together, which is, it went on for way too long. But and I think that's a good point for us to remember, though, is that you can't really go through life on your own. Is that the more that we wall ourselves off, the worse it gets for us. And I have made it my mantra and kind of my mission to show people that they're not alone, that you are not alone and you matter. And that's kind of what I think this whole theme is about, is that you can't do this on your own.
Yep.
And so much of what our society tells us and what church has told us is that you're alone, that you don't matter. What matters is only the pastor or the priest, whatever they're saying up there, and you don't matter. Or whatever matters is what God wants to matter. And that's completely way off base. That's not the gospel. The gospel was that you're a part of the kingdom, and the kingdom is here and the kingdom is now. It's yours. Take it. Do it. And I think that, this is essentially what I think Danny Rand is supposed to be fighting for. But I don't know if it's because the actor doesn't believe in it, or...
I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just because Danny is still just so immature.
Two-dimensional?
Yeah. He is very, And I know he does feel bad about what happened, because he does blame himself because he is the one that left.
Yeah.
And so then he wasn't able to defend it. But then we also get the weird moment in the series where he's like, yeah, you guys destroyed it. And they're like, no, it disappeared.
Yeah, and then there's all this other stuff with the dragon skeleton, and that's maybe Iron Fist season 2 will begin to put some flesh on the character. He'll not be just Danny Rand whining about his cheese.
Yeah, Danny Rand, the teenager.
Yeah. And it's funny because everybody kind of calls him a kid throughout the entire show, and even though they're all kind of sort of the same age.
Well, and that's what, like, Luke Cage's big thing against him was like, dude, like, you are fighting the wrong battles. Like, you need to grow up a little bit. Because Luke Cage, he's been to jail how many times?
Yeah, twice now.
Yeah, the last time, he went into jail because, even though, like, the people he was fighting ultimately were criminals themselves.
Yeah.
But still, like, he committed, in defending his area in New York City, he also was committing crimes by defending the area.
And I think that really, if you let the directors kind of do their thing with what they've been doing, they've been doing an excellent job. Like with
for the most part.
Yeah, Luke, he's gotten, a fantastic show. That entire thing was incredible. Daredevil season 1 was great. Daredevil season 2 wasn't as good, I felt, but...
I feel like they just tried to put in the Punisher and Elektra just too much going on in season 2 that it just wasn't able to
It
fulfill
really,
everything.
I think the second half of season 2 was a lot better than the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I think battling the Punisher was, I think they tried to they tried to do too much in a season, which granted, if you have a longer season, if you have like a full 24 episodes, if you're on network television, that works. But in a 13 episode Netflix series, it doesn't really work to split it off into 2 different plot lines.
Yep. But then Jessica Jones, like, her main thing was, her backstory.
Yeah.
I mean, we got enough of her backstory to where we really care about her, and we were really afraid for her when Kilgrave came back into her life.
Exactly.
He was terrifying. I mean, anybody who's been in the situation to where they were in a relationship where somebody was manipulating them like that. I mean, that kind of stuff is real. I mean, sure, his was amplified because, I mean, his was a superpower, but like anybody can be gaslighted like that.
Yeah, well, and he is, what are they calling them in the MCU? Or is, I keep wanting to go to the Flash. That's in the Arrow universe. Because they call them metahumans in the Flash, in the Arrowverse on CW. What do they call them in the MCU? And I can't even remember. It doesn't matter. Never mind.
I was about to say, I'm trying my darndest to help you out, but I'm not.
Well, and I think that was too much. Was that too much of the infighting? That, okay, you guys are together now. You're in the same room. You're kind of forced to be together. Stop fighting with each other.
Yeah.
And I know that, you saw this in the Avengers when the Avengers kicked off, phase 2. That there was a little bit of infighting and bickering amongst them, but they had a reason that the staff, Loki's scepter, was causing them to blame each other and to be that infighting. But there's no reason for it in the Defenders.
No,
they're just Danny Rand whining about his chi, and then
I really don't understand why Jessica Jones was like left for a hot minute. Like Like, I understood that, like she just didn't want to be a part of the fight. Like, this is not my thing. You guys do you. But she kind of already was in it because she happened to be at the same time. And then, of course, Danny's like, oh, we were put together for a reason.
Yeah.
It's all meant to be.
But I think that... I think they didn't really fully come together, and that was the problem, was that they were still a house divided. Even at the very end, even when they're fighting together... I mean, that last fight scene, that was cool and everything, but it was still kind of boring because they didn't really fully get together. They were still a house divided.
Yeah. I mean, it was so much so to where they essentially let Daredevil just off fighting by himself. I mean, no one was like, oh, look, maybe we should help him out. They were like, no, we got to save our own skin. So let's hop on this elevator.
Well, they told him, let's go. And then he's like, Danny, I'm coming after you. And then they're like, okay. And everybody gets on the elevator.
But still, like, when they realized, oh wait, he's not coming. Like, so, like if somebody said there's only one elevator, it's not like they're going to be able to drop it back down in time, But anyway.
But you also saw this among the Hand as well, which they really needed a hand. There you go. There's your hand pun.
You did it.
And but. I mean, they were so divided, and I mean, yes, this ultimately led to their demise in it. That Elektra was able to be the dark sky and to take over the Hand, and
which was also a very weird thing. But we're not going to talk about that.
Even though she's not really dead now, I'm guessing, because if Matt is still alive, that definitely Elektra is still alive.
Yeah.
Even though they were making out in a dragon skeleton that was being completely crushed by an entire building. Because nobody can die in the Marvel Universe except for background characters.
Yeah, even when you see people die, they don't really die.
Quicksilver died.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Did not see that coming.
If anybody should have died, it should have been Hawkeye. I'm saying it right now, here now. He should have died.
Well, that's the thing, is Joss Whedon did set up that emotional payoff, but the studio didn't let him give that emotional payoff of killing off Hawkeye.
Ugh, made me mad.
Anyway, let's move on from that. We're talking about the Defenders.
I know, sorry.
And so I think that, yes, a house divided against itself cannot stand. This is something that I'm seeing so much now in society with the church, is that that the church is very divided, especially on major issues like homosexuality, with the Nashville statement a few weeks ago, with race. Oh my goodness! We've already talked about this several times in our podcast.
With the climate, with like protecting the environment, for goodness
exactly.
sake.
And it's over these things that, these are signs, but no, it's not. It's signs that you suck at your job as being a steward of the earth. It's a sign that, anyway, I'll get into this a little bit later on. But that all of these things, a house divided against itself, this is something that, is been said in the Bible. This is something that we know to be true, but it's happening, is that houses divided against themselves, they can't stand. They can't, especially with anything. And so I think that really, essentially, this is enforcing that point, is that you can't do this alone, that we're all in this together. And start singing High School Musical song.
All in this together.
They had so much trust issues with each other and with themselves. And I think Danny doesn't trust himself. Well, how is he going to trust the rest of them? And how is he going to, be in a team with the rest of them if he can't even trust himself?
Yeah.
And I think that they needed to develop him a little bit more, and knowing that he could trust himself, gain a little bit more confidence in that. And it was, I don't know. I think because of Danny Rand, it was a hot mess.
But the thing is, even when Claire was like, hey guys, I know all of you. I trust all of you. I know all of you are the good guys and have done good things.
Yeah.
Even with her, everybody trusts her. Why don't they trust her judgment on everybody else?
Well, and I think that Jessica Jones, she had a reason not to trust herself. With what Kilgrave was doing, she couldn't trust herself. She couldn't trust other people. She has major trust issues, and that's okay. But she was still able to work with the rest of them. She was still able to find that trust in everybody else, when Danny is like, he hasn't developed enough to even, trust other people, even though knowing he has trust issues.
Yep.
So, sorry, that's my own thing. I like Jessica Jones better because she was a developed character. She has reasons. Danny Rand is just, my chi.
Well, and hers is so... it is so relatable. And I have to say, even her, as part of the team, her dynamic is also very relatable. And let me explain why. So, one of the things I noticed as I was, looking back at the series was that, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I feel like they made Jessica Jones as part of one of the guys.
Yeah.
She... And when I say one of the guys, I mean that she... had different characteristics than versus the other girls in the series.
Well, almost all of her characterizations are masculine. She wears masculine clothes. She does masculine things. Her fight moves are masculine.
Yeah, it's very street level boxing style. She's very harsh. She curses. She, like you said, she drinks. She's very much very more of a masculine
characteristic for if you were to generalize and to say, if you were to put on a play, for instance, and you're writing a male character, these are things that you would throw in there to make him more of a dude bro. So,
and then also too, she the time when she leaves for just a short period and comes back, she leaves because she's being more thinking about herself. No, I don't want to get involved in this shit. Peace out, yo. which is more, as unfortunately our society thinks of that more as being masculine, thinking only about yourself, not as the collective. But then, she changes her mind and she comes back. But even that point too, that's very much a, what we would consider to be a more masculine trait, is thinking more about yourself and not the collective.
Yeah.
Luckily she turns around. But then we also see, Colleen and Claire. And both of them, we know, are capable of handling themselves. They do have, their own mini, side quest that they, help out a little bit with. However, Colleen is upset because Iron Fist is no, you gotta stay here. You gotta stay here to be safe. Has he forgotten that she has been fighting beside him this whole time?
And she's a better fighter than him?
Yes. Yes, and she's also been training Claire. Like, mind you, like Claire is obviously not on the same level as everybody else. However, she can still do some things, but like even with them, like they're both more level-headed. They're clearly more mature than even some of the the guys on the team. And even with Colleen, the way that she fights martial arts is considered more graceful than, say, what Jessica Jones does, which is more the street fighting, just like punches and kicks. Mm-hmm. I would say primarily punches. But, and they're like in the back. Like their quest is in like
the side. Yeah, they're in the background, yeah.
Exactly. But I think what kind of really made me the most angry was Colleen has proved herself. Like, she has fought against the Hand and apparently against one of the leaders of the Hand.
Well, and she was part of the Hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And instead of like utilizing her knowledge and using her as part of the team, like Iron Fist is like, no, you just need to stay here and be safe in this fire department, or not fire department, the police department.
Yeah.
And that just kind of like really like I was upset with Colleen. I mean, Colleen had a right to be upset, I feel like. And I feel like this is bad because it shows that Jessica, who has the more masculine traits, is more welcomed into like the boys' club.
Yeah.
Ultimately, is what I took out of it anyway. And I feel like this is bad to portray anyway, because this is something that we women have been fighting since we've been into the workforce, like hardcore. Like it's really hard to break into the man's club. Mm-hmm. And the man's club typically is where like the higher paying salaries are, like the manager positions. And I don't know if you guys know the trope of, you know, all of the CEOs going out and like playing golf, and like golf has historically been seen as being a more masculine sport. And a lot of women nowadays are actually, if they want to get into the higher level ranking positions, have been advised to learn how to play golf so they can actually play golf, because a lot of those like time apart from work, like going golfing, that's when a lot of things are discussed about work, like different strategies and different ideas are discussed. And if women aren't invited to play golf, then they're not invited to be part of those important conversations. And I mean, I know this isn't golf, this is fighting the Hand, but still, like it's still very similar, I feel.
Do you need a hand?
Do I? No, I don't. Do I need a hand? And I have to say, like, I have even fallen into this trap too. Like in college, I like really prided myself on like, oh yeah, well, I hang out with the guys. Like, I can drink just as much, if not more, than the guys, which was true at the time. I mean, I can't do that right now, but and I know how to change my own tire, and I know how to like get myself like out of the snowbank and all this other stuff. Like, so I felt like I knew how to do all of these more masculine things, and I was very prideful of being able to do this and being part of the man's club. And unfortunately it's not necessarily a good thing.
And I see this happening quite a bit in our society, and it really is, I think a step back for Marvel, because I think that it's not just with Defenders, it's also with the Avengers, with a lot of their other properties, is that I think DC took it in the right direction to let Wonder Woman have her own movie and have it be a good movie that actually portrays a woman who is strong and independent and didn't need a man's approval just to do anything.
Yep, and also too, from what I've seen just from like the movie posters and stuff, it does seem like she's gonna be like in the lead role too.
Yeah, and I think that it'll be their saving grace for Justice League if they give her more of the screen time.
Yeah.
But that's getting off the point, is we're on Defenders right now. So.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I do understand that this is Jessica Jones. Like, this is her personality. I mean, she's been through some shit totally get it. I just don't think that it was a good move on their part to have Colleen like be on the side and like pushed aside like that when she clearly has the ability to help out.
Very clearly has the ability. Well, like I said, she's a better fighter than Danny Rand, but I think that's just because the actor didn't get enough training. So,
I know.
the hallway fight sequence, yeah, that was pretty cool and everything, but they all went off and did their own thing together. And this, kind of what I was talking about is that they're divided. They never got together. They never really fought together. They fought alongside each other, but they never fought together.
Yeah.
They fought amongst themselves, but they didn't fight together.
I just feel like what I'm ultimately trying to say is, I mean, if you are like a person like Jessica Jones, if you are naturally like that, that's great. Like, I'm not knocking that at all. However, I feel like that maybe if you're in a group who is primarily dominated by men, don't push aside like people just because you don't feel like that they can handle the situation when clearly they have demonstrated to you in the past that they can.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say. If you know they're smart, let them in. There you go.
So where do we go from here? What do we take from the Defenders then? I want to start this with the House Divided thing. Is that very much with Danny Rand. He was going off. Everything is mystical. Everything is about Kunlun, and everything should be about this. And I'm the mystical defender of Kunlun against the Hand, and so I should be doing this by myself. And I feel like that's the caricature of what the church has become in today's society. Is that so many Christians go off, oh, this is a sign from God. We are the mystical defenders of God's word and blah, blah, blah.
You didn't pray away the hurricane.
Yeah, and this is the thing is that, like, I'm seeing all of these things on Facebook about, oh, pray about the hurricane and it'll stop it from coming to Florida and all this. No! Prayer, like faith, without works is meaningless. Mm-hmm. And this divides us because it's not, this isn't a game. We're not playing a game to win God's favor. This is not what it's been about. It's about helping people. It's always been about helping people. It's always about giving the most of yourself to help your fellow man. And I'm sorry I can go off on this forever, but honestly, I see this happening. I see so many Christians getting involved in their own self-politics and their own navel-gazing and legalism that it's like, you've missed the point. Mm-hmm. The point completely. And quite honestly, if you translate the word for sin from Greek, it's the word hamartano, which means to miss the mark. In fact, you can say that the whole church now has become the sinners area. Is that no. These people over here who are doing charitable work that are actually doing something, they're the ones who are actually looking more like Christ now instead of the church.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, Christ didn't just sit there like, yep, I'm the all-powerful Christ. I'm just going to sit here and pray the whole time. Like, no, like he was out there doing the good works.
Yeah.
And if we're supposed to be Christ-like, aren't we also supposed to be going out there and doing the good works as well, too?
Well, I mean, come on. What did he do with people that are hungry? Mm-hmm. He fed 5,000 men. That doesn't count the women because they weren't counted.
Yep, or the children.
Yeah. Anyway, this is very much, I think that... very much like the Defenders, the church has a lot of hype, but it doesn't deliver.
Yeah.
Because we have way too many Danny Rands whining about their chi.
We do. And who are so caught up in their mysticism that they completely forget that there are things that are within our power that we don't have to rely on
Divine
mysticism
intervention.
Yeah, to actually fix. Like, we can start helping our environment. Sure, yes, global warming is here and it's here to stay. However, there are still things that we can do. Like, we can reduce the amount of plastics that we can use. We can be a little bit more self-aware about the amount of garbage that we're throwing out. We can be a little bit more self-aware about how frequently we drive. Like, we don't have to drive as much. You know, we could be walking if we wanted to, but us Americans are lazy.
Hold on to your cars a little longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't trade them out for a new one. Which, by the way, if you don't know, if you buy a new car, that its value depreciates almost immediately as soon as you drive off the lot. That's just a little tip there.
Yeah.
But the repairs usually cost a lot of money, but if you keep your car maintained, you don't have to go in for repairs all that often. And this is just something to help the environment. Just take your car in to be repaired.
Yep.
And every car that is wasted, that is it's being auctioned off for parts or whatever like that, it's adding to the problem instead of having it being driven. Mm-hmm. Which, there's statistics that are involved in all of that, but I think that this is more very much, you don't have to be a superhero to help out.
Yeah.
You don't
have to wait for superhero to help out.
You don't have to wait for a superhero to help out. You don't have to wait for them to say, "Oh yeah, you can join in with us." Be like Colleen, who just kind of took her sword and decided, "Yeah, I'm going to go take this bomb over there because I think we need to blow up the building." Oh yeah, she found the blueprints. That's how she knew. She was like, "Yeah, the only way to do this is to actually blow up the building, like the architect thought." So.
Yep.
I think this feeds into the bigger problem that Marvel has as well. That Marvel hasn't been playing their strong female roles very well. Gamora and Nebula kind of have done some good things in the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're still off, somewhere else.
I mean, they're in a different galaxy. It's kind of hard to...
Yeah. No, they're in the same galaxy. They're just, on the other side of it or something. We have Black Widow, who is part of the guys club, the boys club.
But kind of. I mean, she's still looked upon as being like the femme fatale. Like, she still uses her like feminine ways to like get things done. Like, which movie was it? Was it with Loki? Is where?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like she goes in.
So much red in my ledger.
Yeah. Yep. And she pretends to get all emotional, and she's like, "Oh yes, thank you," and then she just like walks away all like coolly, like that. I don't know. And I think part of the disservice too is, I mean, it's not, at this point, it's not Marvel's fault because, I mean, she was written not to have superpowers, but she is definitely seen as lesser because of that. And that's kind of why I'm excited to see Captain Marvel, because she does have superpowers and she can actually like...
As long as they don't, and, granted the MCU has completely rewritten some of, what has been in the comic books, but... As long as they don't write her like she is in the comic books, where she's completely obsessed with Captain Marvel or Marvel or whatever his name is, and the source of her powers. If it goes a different direction and shows her to be her own person, that she doesn't have to get approval from a man or anything else like this, I think that'll be much, much better. And but it's still not, it's far off. It's we still have the first Infinity War, don't we, before that comes up? So and even like Thor's strong women in Thor, that they're just still more need to get a permission from a man first.
Yep. And they're well, I mean, we haven't seen Ragnarok yet. Well, because it's
not out yet.
But but I'm just hoping that the Valkyrie are shown to be. I hope they're on the same level as the Amazonians in Wonder Woman, because really they should be, because they're female women warriors.
Yeah.
Female women warriors.
As opposed to male women warriors.
Yes.
Which I guess you could have. So, yeah, and the other thing too is that Sigourney Weaver did a fantastic job as playing the villain here in The Defenders, but I think that they killed her off way too quickly with Elektra, and it was not.
I was definitely surprised by it.
Yeah, and it was more like they did their whole villain problem. They fed into their villain problem again.
Yep.
Was that the only developed villains are like Loki and Vulture now. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have Elektra to a small extent, but you don't know if she's really fully bad or not. And yeah,
well, and I guess like Kilgrave, but I think
well, Kilgrave, but he's dead.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that we thought that we weren't terrified of Kilgrave because we knew about Kilgrave. I think we were terrified of Kilgrave because we know people like him.
Yes.
Because it's a real thing.
Yeah, and he didn't get a ton of development of how did he get his superpowers? How did he, and he was there, but he was terrifying in his own sense. And I think that's the thing that Marvel's missed out on a bit, is that they don't take something that could be real and do it. They just kind of,
And for a while there, I liked them at first because Marvel does have that element to where most of their heroes, like, are human, like, are from this planet and like somehow either developed their superhero powers or they like engineered it themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas DC, most of those people are like superhero or like superhuman. Like
the gods among us.
Yep, exactly. And so I liked Marvel because like they could make like anybody, like some like teenager who just happens to be a big science nerd, become Spider-Man.
Yeah. So yeah,
but that's
ultimately,
why I like Marvel more than DC.
What we take away from this is we're all in this together, and
don't push people out.
Don't push people out, and tell Marvel to develop their female characters.
Yes.
That women don't need a man's approval.
The end.
Okay. So, in closing, this is, we've got time to close today. All right. So, our feedback schedule, here is what's coming up. Next week, we are doing Game of Thrones Season 7.
Woo woo!
So, if you have not yet caught up with what's going on in Westeros, you have another week. But it was a fantastic season. We're going to be treading on some of the things that we actually talked about with American Gods, surprisingly.
I cursed a lot, so
yes.
If that's an indication about how like scared I was.
Yeah, the final episode was almost on par with the anxiety-inducing season 7, season 6 finale of Walking Dead,
where they introduced Negan.
Yeah. And then the week after that, we're going to do Mr. Robot Season 1. And so if you have been all caught up on Mr. Robot, great. We're not yet with Season 2. So the week after, in 3 weeks, we may be doing Mr. Robot Season 2, unless we see something else that comes up here pretty soon that'll be in between. We will be taking a break in October for a week because we will be out of town. And so we'll probably not be doing an episode that week. So you guys can get caught up on our episodes. So that would be great. If you have anything to say about any of those things, give us a call at 720-372-3879. That is a Google Voice number, so you will automatically get into the Google Voice voicemail box thing. And just leave your message, and we'll maybe use your part of the conversation to add to our conversation in a future episode. You can find us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit, and on Tumblr, and on Google Plus. But really, who uses Google Plus besides Google employees? So come find us on Facebook and Twitter. That's where we use the most.
Yep.
At Real Honest Faith on Twitter, and on Facebook, it is facebook.com/Real Honest Faith.
Oh, and we also have a website, too. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Not yet.
Oh, did I beat you to the punch?
Yep.
Spoiler alert, we have a website.
You have a hand up on me.
Oh.
And so thehonestfaith.com is our website. I have done audio blogs. That's where my blog is. You can also find my book. Or if you want to get my book, a signed book for free, you can use it to throw it at people, or you can use it to prop up a table, or you can use it to start a fire as kindling. Or you can even read it and put it on your shelf, because that would be awesome too. It is called The Boulevard of Broken Dreams, a youth minister's tale of being shattered. And we are giving away 2 free signed copies. All you need to do is like and share our page or our Twitter handle. And then we will enter you into the drawing. It really helps me to figure out who all has done that. If you guys enter, there is a link on our Facebook page and on our Twitter feed. So if you'll go to that and fill out the form there, so it lets me know who you are, where you're from, and where to send the book.
And it's not like we're going to like use it to like spam you with a bunch of stuff. Like, this is seriously just so we can send you the book.
Exactly. I do ask a question on there if you would like a newsletter. I have been wondering if we should do a newsletter or not, and I was like, we'll ask the people who actually enter this thing. So you can find us on all those places. Also, send us an email. You can also send us an email with an audio clip. That is at honestfaithconvos@gmail.com. And with all that being said, we invite you to come and join the conversation.
Bye.